This is going to be just a really quick video because I don't think immersion needs really that much of an explanation. It's something you've probably heard of with language learning. It gets talked about a lot as, like, some people even say it's like the grand strategy, the ultimate thing. It's not really a strategy per se, but it is like something that you can implement that's very effective with language learning, but it really doesn't require that much of an explanation. So I'm just going to get straight into it. So what is immersion? Immersion in general is the practice of just surrounding yourself with something. Like, you can immerse something. Something can be immersed in water, for example, if you drop it in a pool. So constant exposure as regards to language learning is an extremely effective learning method, because being constantly surrounded by the language basically means you're going to understand and get better at it quicker, even if you don't know anything, because after all, immersion is how you learn English, and I'm going to come back to that later. But immersion in general is extremely effective language learning, because as that information is constantly around you, your brain basically, for whatever reason, decides that that is what it needs to learn, basically, because it's constantly surrounded. And if you think about it, that kind of makes sense. If you're constantly surrounded by something, you might as well get good at it, be better at it. That's kind of why people who just do stuff more get better at it. So in regards to language learning, again, total immersion would be obviously the quickest way to learn, because you would literally be completely surrounded by people speaking the language. There might not even be people able to speak your own language. So total immersion would be traveling to the country itself of the language that you are learning. So if you're learning French, you go to France. If you're learning Hungarian, you go to Hungary, etc. Obviously, that is pretty unrealistic unless you're doing it through work or something like that, or you have a really good opportunity come up, in which case you should take it, because traveling's fun. But the next best thing other than total immersion is just immersing yourself with content. So you need to be surrounding, and this is something you need to be doing. Like, if you're not immersing yourself at all, you're not even really learning, you're just teaching yourself rules and never even practicing. But immersing yourself with content, I've done a video on, I believe it was maybe the 3 things you need to learn language. It's one of my earliest videos, and it talks about how best to use content and the best types of content. But basically, to keep it short, you can go check out that video. You just need to be surrounding yourself with books. So you need to be reading books in that language. Even if they're easy, that's fine. Parallel text, anything like that. Watching movies, TV, anything like that. And try and get a few things each day. At least one thing if you can. Because you are trying to trick your brain into that thing, oh yeah, this is what I need to learn, almost for survival. Like, you need to get better at it. And that helps you learn. As far as what I said before, that I said I'd come back to you about English, if you think about learning your first language, obviously when you're born you don't know any languages, so it's not like, oh, if I'm teaching you Italian, for example, I can just go, oh, so this is the Italian word for this in English, and it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You can't do that when you're learning English, because you don't know any language, so you're kind of learning entirely through immersion, if you think about it, because there's no translations, there's no parallel text, there's no hidden answers. You literally learn English just by hearing things, repeating them. It takes you years and years. Like, people think, oh, it's so easy to learn a first language. It's not. You didn't really speak it until you're like 5 or 6, like, properly. And even then, you still made tons of mistakes. So yeah, it takes longer to learn your first language than any other language. You just don't remember it, so you're ignorant. But yeah, immersing yourself is that powerful. That's how you learn your first language. You can learn it with nothing. How to immerse yourself, I talked a little bit about that on the last slide. I should have changed slides, sorry. Yeah, best way to surround yourself with content, as you can see, books, movies, that kind of thing. Staying consistent is within immersion, and also just something you should do full stop, and a routine goes hand in hand with that. It doesn't have to be a strict routine per se. If that's what you want, go for it, but just doing a bit of this, a bit of that every single day, and making sure you stay immersed is good. And that doesn't mean you have to kill everything that's not in the language you're learning. That's obviously unrealistic. Again, if you can do that, which you probably couldn't unless you're in some kind of military program, that would help you learn the fastest theoretically, but obviously that's not realistic. And yeah, the better you implement immersion, generally the quicker you'll learn. Obviously some people learn quicker than others, but as I've always said, don't worry about that. Who cares? As far as immersion goes, you don't want to cheat yourself. You do want to use that as, it's not the be-all end-all strategy, because, like, obviously you say, oh, immersion's this, and then you go live there and it's like, now what do? I'm immersed. It's not really a strategy, it's just something you should implement. As far as strategies, I'm probably going to make a video on that, to be honest, but yeah, that's basically immersion. I hope that explained it and cleared it all up, and yeah, it's only a short video because it really doesn't require that much explaining, but yeah, thank you.